We will start with Alexandre O'Hagan, a VP for Latin America and Spanish-speaking markets for Facebook, who will be telling us about how VC is doing in Latin, in particular Brazil. So join me in giving Alexandre an applause.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So let's talk a little bit about technology, the challenges and opportunities from Latin America. Of course, I'll bring a perspective from someone who worked in two big companies. I had the luck to bring both Google and Facebook for Latin America in the last 10 years, and I will try to just share a little bit of what happened those 10 years and what I've learned working for those two companies. So here I am, this is 2004, and this headhunter just called me and said, listen, there is a company wanted to open an office in Brazil. And I asked, so what's the company? And I was working at that time for HBO. And the guy said, it's a company called Google. And I might confess that I had never heard about Google before. Back in 2004, I used to use Yahoo and Alta Vista. But the guy said, he was very convincing. He said, listen, this is a promising company. It's growing a lot in the US. And I think you should really consider moving from HBO, which is like a very traditional company, into Google. So I called my boss at HBO and I said, listen, there is a chance that I'm going to move and I will just leave HBO. He said, come to New York. I want to talk to you. So at that same day, I went to New York. And at night, I went out with some friends, and I told this story to my friends who were Americans living in the US. When I mentioned Google versus HBO, they said, this is a no-brainer. It's easy. just go and you should accept that proposal, and that's what happened. So move fast forward. This is Q2 of 2005, and we opened our first office in Brazil. We were 3-4 people. This is an interesting picture because this was done by our PR company, and they brought this nice photographer. They took a picture. Let's show what's what looks like the new culture of Google, this new company. But they didn't realize that the guy on the back on the right, he was our sales manager, and he had a whiteboard full of numbers of our objectives and number of clients that we wanted to reach, and so on and so forth. But you cannot see anything from the picture. But if you zoom in, and John, you might remember that. If you zoom in, you can see every single number, all the details of our company. So we started Google in Brazil, sharing very confidential information. It was an interesting beginning, but I also learned a lot. By launching a company like Google, extremely intense. We learned a lot, and I think there were many challenges, but 4 challenges that I wanted to share for those who work in Latin America, which I think was very interesting. First one, the importance of really focusing on talent. And coming and working for Google, and we have a couple of people here that worked for Google before, it is very challenging to hire someone there. I went through 22 interviews, and my process took almost 6 months. And they went to my university, my college. They asked all of my grades and everything for my past, in order to guarantee that I could be hired by Google. So imagine, now you transform that process, into everything that you need to do to hire the people there. It has to be like that. So for example, in Latin America, we didn't have a rank. Already 10? Come on, I just started. So in Latin America, we don't have the rank of the universities. So we started classifying universities so that we could only hire people from the top ranked university. The second thing that I learned is, it's interesting because we brought a business model for Latin America that was very different than what we saw culturally, right? And culturally, Latin America, it's not very used to work with self-serve platforms. And Google was all about self-serve platform, right? We didn't have a lot of people. The plan was not to hire a lot of people to help companies to learn how to use our platform. And then you go to countries like Brazil, where you still have someone pushing the button on an elevator to take you to a different floor. And people were saying, this will never work in Brazil. This will never work in Latin America because, culturally, people still need the service in order to be successful. And what I learned, it was totally different. I think Latin Americans are, extremely open to new technologies. they adopt those new technologies very well, and we grew the business extremely high and fast. We also brought a business that was disruptive from a business perspective. Was very disruptive for Latin America. Latin America, it's a region where it's still very dependent on agencies. The business model for agencies, it's all based on very little fees and high rebates and high incentives. And here we are with Google, which has an auction platform that cannot pay any rebates and incentives, and that was a big challenge. And what we did is, instead of really focusing on the agencies, we went straight to clients, created dependence between the clients and our products, and then we started, negotiating with the agency, which was something interesting. And the fourth learning, which this is interesting, is that this is probably one of the most unpredictable regions in the world, right? This is Orkut, and Orkut, I don't know if you guys know what Orkut is, but he's an engineer, he's a Turkish engineer that used to work for Google, and he created in Stanford a social network that Google, that was like incubated inside Google. And Orkut all of a sudden started to be extremely, extremely popular in some countries like Brazil, like India, and and back in 2010, we had almost 45 million Brazilians using actively Orkut as a social network. And Facebook basically didn't exist back in 2010. We had something like 8 million users versus 45 million users on Orkut. But Orkut, because it was extremely successful only in Brazil and India and some other small countries, there was never a focus for Google. And Google never really invested a lot of money in Orkut. So this could be, a dream of any executive, right? You have in your hands, probably the most successful social network back in 2010, and, let's try to really monetize and let's try to take this to a different level. But because this was not a priority for Google, this went from my dream to my nightmare, right? And because at that time, we were not paying too much attention to the product, this became a very interesting platform for bad content. So in 2008, the federal police and the Senate in Brazil started an investigation against Google to see if we could find what exactly were happening inside the platform. And I went to the Senate in Brazil, 4 hours open hearing in open TV, talking about pedophilia and child pornography. Which, this was, totally unpredictable when you think about a company like Google, which is not going to be extremely interesting, but this was very, very different. So we were very successful. We had to change the way that we had our servers. We implemented servers in Brazil. We were able to collect information, share with the federal police in Brazil. We ended up signing an agreement with the government, and the problems, just went away. But also what happened in the meantime is that Facebook started to get a lot of traction. But, people were happy. Eric Schmidt went to Brazil. He opened the office there. He was very happy. Everything was working extremely well. So fast forward 2010, I got a call from Sheryl Sandberg, and she said, listen, we're starting to see some traction. And we have Julio here, who was also helping the growth of Facebook in Brazil. But we are seeing some traction here. And I think that at some point we will need someone to come and open the office for us. So after a couple of months talking and discussing, I decided to move from a company with 800 people, 8 offices, to start Facebook in my home. Literally asking my daughters to be quiet because I was calling candidates and starting the whole operation of Facebook back in the beginning of 2011. So what I saw, after that is, I think that we really brought to Latin America what I call the third big wave of the internet after the portals, after the importance of the search engines, and then, what we saw was probably one of the fastest growing countries, for Facebook in many, many years. In the case of Brazil, just to give an idea, we went from, 10 million users, more or less, back at the end of 2010 to more than 95 million users now, active users, and in Latin America in total, over 250 million users. And that transformation, happened because, the internet was going from, being just like a repository of a lot of information to what we call the internet around people. And that transformation happened because of, what I believe are the two main reasons. One is the mobility. I love this picture. This is, when the Pope was announced in the Vatican, just 8 years apart. You can see what happened, in terms of devices and people taking pictures of that moment. And also, what we call the real identity, right? I mean, for many, many years, what happened is that people were navigating the internet without an identity. And, if you remember, ICQ was a number, right? So, and in order for you to really communicate with someone, you had to know that number in order for you to know who was on the other side. And now it's totally different, right? With Facebook and the new social networks, you have a real identity, and that's one of the reasons why this is becoming so relevant. We have some interesting cases where we are empowering people because of that real identity. This is this young girl, 12 years old, from Curitiba. She created this page just to challenge the education system in Brazil. She took her very simple phone and started taking pictures of her school, just saying, this is not right. And why should I be in my public school with no bathroom, no food, no nothing? And she posted this on her page on Facebook, and all of a sudden she had like 1 million followers. And what happened at the end is that the government really realized that they need to do something. So, and I think this is very interesting because of what's changing and what's happening in technology, and it's empowering people like Isadora. But she also brings this very interesting paradox, right? Because I think from one side we see a lot of negativity from when we think about Latin America, all of the news and everything. But I like to see this from a different perspective, and I think there is still a lot of opportunities. So if you take The Economist, they love to portray Latin America in their cover pages. Some of those cover pages like talking very well about Latin America. This is end of 2009, beginning of 2010, but just 3 years apart. This is what happened, right? This is how The Economist see the region, which is a little frustrating. But this is not what we see. I brought here those pictures. This is exactly the period between those two magazines. And those are, each little point represents something like 10,000 check-ins of Facebook. And this first slide here is June of 2011. So this is what happened, with all of the, what we saw in the economy. This is what happened with the connection and the penetration of Facebook in Latin America. So from June of 2011 to December, then to March, and then June. So in 1 year, we went from almost no penetration, no people using Facebook, to you can see that we basically cover the region, and including some interesting areas like the Amazon. So then, just like living this paradox, I asked a bunch of CEOs and executives in Latin America why LATAM is still a great opportunity, which I believe is still a great opportunity. So I brought a couple of the answers to share with you guys and see if it makes sense. Now, the first thing is, everywhere where you have difficulties, you also have great opportunity. And there are so many barriers in the region that if you do a good job, I think there is a huge upside on profit, on operations, and so on and so forth. We still have about 150 million people that's coming online. This is more than the US and Canada, the opportunity in the US and Canada. There's a huge market inefficiencies, which again can be a great opportunity for whoever brings the right technology, who is doing the right thing. There is a growing startup ecosystem. I think we heard about that today. And a growing young population that is increasing, the per capita purchasing power, which is this is great. So what are the challenges when you think about Latin America? This is very unfortunate, but this is true. Talent acquisition is still very complex. The labor laws in the region is extremely, extremely complex. If you try to hire someone, or if you try to fire someone in Latin America, you know how difficult it is. Corruption, and I try to be nice here, just saying that in some sectors, but unfortunately, especially in countries like Brazil, we're now seeing a lot of these in the news lately. but it's, you know, it really frightens people that want to invest, especially in the infrastructure. Security, you're seeing like more and more Latin Americans, you know, yesterday during our happy hour, I spoke to a lot of people about this, but, you know, security personal and for the business, it's also something that it's, you know, it's a big challenge in Latin America. Government uncertainty, I mentioned the Orchid case, tax policy, you know, the whole thing of like between Brazil and the Spanish-speaking countries, like one doesn't really understand the other ones, which it's, you know, creates a lot of barriers. And then the monopolies and duopolies that we talk so much. Some of the recommendations for people who are like investing in Latin America and thinking about investing, you know, really focus on top talent. Make sure that you build the right relationships. You know, Latin America, it's very different. And it really demands the creation of those strong relationships. Brand, Latin Americans also, they are very much focused on brands. It's very important to build that. Speed and agility on decision making. And then respect the local differences. And this is something that I think that we have a huge advantage, which is now we manage a region with more than 30 countries and, you know, very similar cultures and only 2 languages. But at the same time, the way that you do business in Latin America is very different if you go from one country to the other one. So those are my recommendations. So I'm over my time, so thank you very much.